Hello, hockey fans of all ages, shapes, and sizes. I got a little Leaf speculation here. A few things I wrote some notes for myself so I could bang these out. For me, the biggest situation with the Leafs right now is the pending Matthews free agency. So, what do you do? If you're the Leafs and you want to go for it, let's say, like I'm a Leafs fan, obviously I'm a Sharks fan first, but being a local guy to Toronto, always been a Leafs fan in the back of my mind. So, especially back in the day with Nieuwendyk and Roberts and Tucker and Gilmore and all those guys, Ty Domi as well. He was a legend. Anyways, bring in Mark Messier as the coach. I summon Mark Messier off the bench at I think he's TNT or ESPN. Bring Mark Messier in for 1 year and win that cup. That guy has got winning in his DNA, and like obviously winning with Gretzky and in Edmonton, and then goes on to win with the Rangers. Like that guy is a winner. If anybody can squeeze every ounce of energy out of Matthews before pending free agency, it would be Mark Messier. So what does that look like? If you believe that you can pull together a team, like I said in my last video, you need sandpaper. So for me, a huge question is, can you bring back Ryan O'Reilly? I know myself and my buddies, shout out to the boys in the WhatsApp chat. We were stoked to see O'Reilly, and especially getting a hat trick and getting injured. So now, does he become a Foligno situation where he's injured and people kind of discount or undervalue what this guy could potentially bring to the organization? Was there stuff there? Like, I'm not privy to the dressing room. Were there issues there with, him not being played as much or as high a value as he sees in himself? Is his heart still in Toronto, or is it back in St. Louis or wherever? I don't know. I can't speak to things that I don't have direct knowledge of. I know a shout out to Spicer back at Jenkins' 40th barbecue birthday party. We were chirping each other about the Blues winning the cup. Obviously, when O'Reilly's on the Blues, I was hating on him because I'm a huge Sharks fan, and they literally kicked the shit out of the Sharks to go on to win the cup that year. A lot of the Sharks went down and were injured, and that was the year Karlsson came in, and that was the year I think the Blues stole that was the hand pass, the infamous hand pass. Karlsson to Meyer, maybe, or something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, that was insane. And that was the year that Karlsson came there, and I think that was their best chance of the Sharks organization sealing their first cup. So can't stand the Blues. No offense, guys, being a Sharks fan. But when Ryan O'Reilly came to the Leafs, I was absolutely stoked. So were tons of buddies in the WhatsApp chat. So I think this is the question. If let's say Matthews is leaning towards, everyone keeps going to Arizona, and I'm just going to do that because that's where he's from. Let's say they can somehow work out this situation, go to Scottsdale, sort of build a plan to build an arena in the next couple of years, like London, Ontario built the Bud Gardens, which was the John Labatt Center, or the JLC. To me, this is the best sports arena that this city has ever seen. And I know they were at the Ice House. It was like down south in London. People didn't really want to go there. Now there's like all kinds of, the boomers and retired people and lots of families downtown where all the work is in London, the Richmond Row and stuff like this. Letterman's top 10 universities and stuff of students and partying. the Knights, I witnessed Corey Perry and the era of Kane, and Tavares was there for I think one season. Um, the Knights are unreal, and what the Hunters have done. Met Dale Hunter at a bar after a game one time. That was pretty cool. Bumping into him, he was one of my dad's favorite players. Totally random here, but yeah. So what do the Leafs do here? Do they um, there's two trains of thought. It's if O'Reilly is checked out, there's no possible way of signing him as a number two. I say number two with meaning behind Tavares, and that would say what the heck happens with Matthews. So I would think if there's a possibility to sign O'Reilly to a deal, let's say it's like 5.5 to 6.5 million. Maybe somewhere right in between, like 6 million, I think is probably his true worth for like maybe a 3 to 4 year deal. Um, that guy is like sandpaper. He's got leadership. Give him an A, and he'll be one of the leaders in that locker room. So, like I said, I'm not privy to what's going on there. And if that's the case, and what the caveat to that is, if Matthews is somewhat leaning towards leaving Toronto in free agency to go down to Arizona, and I don't know, like obviously with the Tempe thing and all the uncertainty around that, like I went to Arizona, I went to California on my way back. I met up with a friend. I met at Developer Week, Colin and his wife, and we were walking around ASU campus there, and he told me there's like a mountain there you can climb up to the top and see the view of the city, and that's where Mullet Arena is. In full disclosure, I put my name in the hat for the senior marketing manager there. I think that would be such a cool city. I told them that, hockey runs through Canadians' veins. I would absolutely love to promote any NHL franchise because I love hockey so much. And I think they got to embrace the mullet. Like, honestly, like first game or whatever, hand out like wigs, like mullet wigs and stuff like that. Get people embrace the mullet. That's what I would say from like a social media standpoint. They have to embrace the mullet. I think maybe they have to charge a little bit more per seat, especially if they got a guy like Matthews. So what that comes down to for me is, I know it'd be probably really unpopular to trade him, but he has this no move clause coming in July 1st, and he has a choice. And obviously, he said, I want to be in Toronto. It's really hard to read these things. I think a lot of them are really canned. After the season, these guys are disappointed. They really probably believe they had a chance at going to the Cup final at minimum, or even winning it. So I know that their heart is still in the right place, but after the season's over, you have time to recollect, reflect, whatever. What if? So I wrote this down, and this is probably the caveat too, is that if Ryan O'Reilly is willing to sign, it's like, if he's not willing to sign, I think you have to keep Austin Matthews if you want a chance to win. I'm not saying Riley can score as much as Matthews. He's probably a 30 goal scorer though, in my mind, 20 to 30 goals plus the leadership element. But I mean, the Matthews name, could that literally save the entire Coyotes franchise? You hear the Clayton Keller stuff, who knows what's going on there, but there's people frustrated. Obviously they thought, we're playing at mullet for a plan, and excuse me, when you take a plan away from people and you say there is no plan now. I personally, I knew nothing about Phoenix or Scottsdale or anything. The locals actually said to me, "Oh, you gotta check out Scottsdale. It's amazing." I went out. Shout out to Jessica Catherine, Hi-Fi Bars. I went to that place. That place is banging. It's absolutely rocking. Downtown Scottsdale. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, so if you do something similar to the Bud Gardens in London, Ontario, you build I'm not even sure. Like, I think they said that they have to add an extra amount of seating for the team. So let's just say you basically have this plan and you can build something similar to what the Knights have in London here. in Arizona, in Scottsdale. Like I already picked out a spot. Honestly, I was looking at Google Maps. I was just curious when this whole Tempe thing was turned down. I thought, buy out the Motel 6. You got the Fashion Square there with all the parking. And you can buy out, there's a development company at the west end of the bank. So maybe they own all this land. I have no idea, but like there's a street, cross street that goes through. You could buy up the rights to that, build the arena, um, elongate it across that entire property. You have all kinds of overflow parking at the Fashion Square. And like I can envision being a player in Arizona, or somebody coming in. There's all kinds of amazing hotels around Scottsdale downtown. There's all these awesome bars and restaurants. It's kind of like what's that area in San Jose, Santana. Anyways, yeah, it's like that the market area in San Jose that's awesome, where some of the players go, like Pizza Antica and stuff. I went there and had some pizza and beers and stuff. It was great before the Sharks game. Yeah, so you have like all these great hotels. There's like the Hilton, the W. I was checking out on Google Maps and stuff just to sort of see what that would look like. And if they could find a piece of land downtown, like the John Labatt Center or the Budweiser Garden now, it was actually like, I want to say it was around like 4 blocks maybe, or 2 blocks. It didn't, like when you really saw the construction happening, you're like, there's no way there's an arena going in here. And when you're inside, it's loud. It's maybe not like an NHL size rink, but perhaps you build that, and that's the start. And you go, like, until that time, you embrace the mullet. Like I said, hand out mullets to people, hand out hats with like hair hanging out the back, and absolutely embrace the mullet for your next season. You got like superstars on the wing, like Clayton Keller and all these guys. So like, what could Austin Matthews potentially fetch in the draft? I wrote some stuff here. Like, this year in particular, Phoenix has, and I know like people always tie him to Phoenix because I think he's a Scottsdale boy, or at least around the Phoenix metro area. So Arizona has the Ottawa Senators pick, which is 12. They've got the 6th overall pick. This draft is deep. So let's say Matthews fetches, and the Leafs cupboard is pretty dry as far as prospects and stuff like that. So like I know he'll fetch way more than, no offense, Marner, and maybe not way more, but at least a bit more than Marner, and probably quite a bit more than Willie, just based on his contract value. So if this is the situation where you're faced with, and you have a Ryan O'Reilly signing as a potentially 2C, you could trade Matthews to Arizona, plus maybe a D-man. Like the Leafs, their cupboards are stocked at defense, right? Like, so you got Morgan Rielly, Luke Schenn, McCabe, Liljegren, Gio's going to be there 1 year, Brody's going to be there, I think, one more year. And then you got guys left out like Connor Timmins and Gustafsson. So it's like they could probably afford to part with, potentially one defenseman along with Matthews. Obviously, Matthews is the crown jewel for Arizona if they were able to grab him. Arizona, I think it's a now thing. They've got all this IR and dead cap space. And I want to say that like Mullet Arena is so small, and they're going to be in this dire financial situation. So if you embrace the mullet, you charge a little bit more for seats. I think it's only like 3,000 or 4,000 people, like something crazy small like that. Ridiculous. So you have to have like crazy passionate loyal fans that are going to be going every day so you can ensure your top line in sales. And obviously the bottom line is like all this IR space. They've got like 20, I was looking at, it was like 26 million or something on Cap Friendly. So, yeah. So what do you do in this situation? Like if you're Arizona, you probably have to trade some now pieces. Like I was cherry picking a couple of people like Barrett Hayton. I've seen him play. He's probably could fit in as like a 3C behind Tavares and O'Reilly. And let's say you get Hayton. I think he can also play on the wing too. I've seen this guy play. He's young. He's younger than Matthews and Marner, and he's an up and coming player, goal scorer, etc. Zach Cassian. Obviously, if you play against him, you can't stand this guy. He's the definition of grit and sandpaper. So a guy like that, like the Leafs need more sandpaper in their lineup on the wings. And I was looking, so the IR, it's like you got Shea Weber and Jacob Voracek. So I don't think either of them are coming back. Like Muzzin, I believe, might retire as a Leaf. With the concussions, like this is a professional sports league. These guys are tough. They take on massive hits. So yeah, I was looking at that, and if there's a chance, I'm not even saying it's possible, but for the Leafs to pull over, I think that's like around 15, 16 million in expenses on the against the bottom line of the Yotes. So potentially with Matthews, you trade your sixth and 12th first round picks, and I'll get to the picks in a second, like who they could potentially have. There's a lot of guys in that middle area. Hopefully the Sharks trade up their Timo Meier pick a little bit. Like, we'll see, boys. Like, go for the middle if you can. Anyways, yeah, like, so I envision Matthews plus a D-man, maybe Brody, because he's got that experience. I don't know, and that's a pretty big cap relief from the Leafs to sign a lot of their UFAs like Achari, and love Shen. Hopefully he'll stay. Frege and a couple of those guys, there's rumblings that he may stay, which would be awesome. I love the chirping too. It's like against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And just on that, before I get to the picks, for Dubas and the Leafs, I think Dubas is a great guy. However, when you really look at this team, and like I know from the frustrations of all my friends, like through Columbus and all these losses, like Tampa Bay, bless them, they're not as good as they were a couple years ago. They're scrappy, they're tough, they've got a lot of grit and sandpaper, so they could go, but obviously they got Vazzy back there and stuff. And I didn't think they were as good as when they had that third line of like Goody. Shout out to Martha and family. Met them in Buffalo that one time. I love you, Goody. Anyways, best goal in Sharks history too in overtime from Carlson, by the way. Yeah, like where was it going with that? So yeah, they had that third line of like Gord, New Jersey, Palat, and Goodrow. And those guys are now like kind of first line guys on all their teams, right? Like Tampa Bay had that sort of panacea or like unicorn era where they had guys signed for way less. And I feel this, like, if you're a team like San Jose that's rebuilding, I wouldn't put too much stock into goaltending. But as you see, like a guy like Bobrovsky can fill in the holes of potentially your team where Florida was vastly underestimated. I love Tkachuk now. He was a London Knight too, and they won with Marner and those guys. So Bobrovsky and like a really good goalie can fill in where you don't have guys like McDavid and Matthews. And like, I'm not saying Tkachuk's not a superstar. Like, this guy is rising stock in my opinion, especially like as a face of the league. Like the All-Star game, his commentary throughout the playoffs has been absolutely amazing. Like I like him more and more as it goes. So yeah, he's potentially like a superstar, especially if they end up winning the cup this year, which is insane, right? And I don't know what the Leafs are going to think about that. It's like they beat the Bruins, the best team in the league, like in history, I think, in the regular season. They beat the Leafs and stuff. So the Leafs are like this close. So do you run it back? And I know that's like, I hear people reeing and like going crazy right now to say that, but it's like, I think they need a little bit of sandpaper. And by the way, all the guys that they brought in, they went for it this year. I think Dubas